Hey, good morning, Drivetime. Welcome back. As always, I'm Dave Drum, and I'm joined today by one of our Drivetime alumni, Pastor Dennis Gingerich. And for those of you who are around the Cape, you know Pastor Dennis very well. Dennis, thanks for coming back. Thanks for spending a little more time with us here on Drivetime.
Well, thank you, Dave. It's great to be back, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
So the reason why I asked you to come on, as we've discussed a little bit off camera, is your life has been marked with really a faithful ministry, not just with the church that you planted here in Cape Coral, but more specifically in the grand scheme of things, it's mission work. And that's what I want to talk about today. So if you would, kind of take us down memory lane as far as really how mission work has been a foundational part of your faith.
Yeah, well, it really has. And as I think about it, it was actually, planted in me at a very early age. I think of I was just out to Oregon a week before last to visit my mom. She's almost 89 now. But I think of her passion for, when I was growing up, she was always passionate for reaching out to the neighbors and the neighbor ladies. And she was forever doing Bible studies and inviting them to that, and inviting the kids of the neighborhood and hauling the kids, multiple loads of kids, to Vacation Bible School at our church. And there was always a sense that we were on mission, and that was even before that. Her parents were a part of a mission outreach of a church in their community, and I think it was implanted in me very, very early that's just a part of being a follower of Jesus, is that we're on mission with him toward reaching out beyond ourselves. It's never just about us. And so for Linda and I, when we met, I met her parents first, and her parents were essentially missionaries. They moved from, a rural part of Ohio, farm community, to inner city, Youngstown, Ohio, where they were the clearly the minorities in that community. And her whole family was about missions. Her dad started a church on one side of town and was there 15 years and found another leader to lead that, and then went to the other side of town and started another church and was there another 15 years, and 30 years of inner city type mission and ministry. And so that was our passion. Even when I knew them, actually, I knew her parents before I met her. But even when we first started dating, was always about, our lives were going to be about mission. It was going to be about reaching out beyond ourselves. It wasn't going to be just about us. And so the first church I pastored in New York, Elmira, New York, for 7 years, was a new church plant, 5 years old, and it was really involved in the ministry of the community and so on. And so when it came time when we felt like it was time for us to start a church, it was always our passion and goal. We saw Cape Coral as a mission. Cape Coral was a mission with, just a few churches here, and a city that was growing, and a church that was like about 90% unchurched. And that was our focus, and always has been. And I'm thrilled the fact that we still see it that way, because it's easy for a church to become maintenance focused. After a few years, after 20, 30 years, becomes maintenance focused and just about taking care of the people that are inside the church. But I love it, the fact that we constantly look out beyond ourselves to say, who are we yet not reaching in our community? Who are the people that need to be reached yet in our community, and how do we make ourselves accessible? How do we make ourselves attractive to those that are not yet being reached? And so that's always expanded way beyond our own own community. It's been always that heart for ministry and mission beyond ourselves. And for me, it's a natural, because I love to travel too. So I love to go other places to do ministry and mission too. and always be supportive of missions and ministry. And so sometimes we only think of mission as out there somewhere in another country or something, but it's at all levels. And Jesus talked about that, in our own Jerusalem and in our surrounding areas, and these concentric circles out in Samaria, and and even to the othermost parts of the world as far as you can go. And I've been able to do all of those. I love that. I've been to most of the major continents and some type of ministry and mission trip. And I've been exposed to many of those things. I've only served in a direct capacity for any length of time in our United States here, but I've traveled in multiple places in Africa and India and China and Nepal and Haiti, and just was in Bolivia last month, and Cuba and all, Dominican and all kinds of places. So I love to combine the travel with the heart of ministry and mission, and seeing that God wants all people reached. And I can't reach them all, but I can support some who are reaching them. I can I can go and encourage and visit and teach and train and share and take other people to build, to do whatever in that. But I love the fact that I've been able to do that out of one place for 35 years here in Cape Coral, is being on mission right here, but also getting our people involved in missions here in our local community and way beyond our local community. And I love that portion.
So let me ask you this. You mentioned it kind of briefly. You enjoy the travel, but you know that Jesus has called you and calls us to be a part of that spreading of the gospel worldwide. But why is it important for us as individuals to even be involved at any level in mission work? What would be the value for an individual, not a part of an organization, just an individual? Because again, we're talking to some guys here on Drivetime that aren't a part of Cape Christian per se, but with them, maybe being a different part of the United States, why would they even be concerned about what type of mission work we're doing from down here in Southwest Florida?
Well, I think, Dave, I think it's the bottom core of how Jesus established the church. And you see it from day one, is those first followers of his disciples and so on. He implanted that in them right in the beginning. He didn't develop some other strategy. He knew he was here for a short period of time and was going to be going on, and he left it in their hands. And as risky as that was, he left it in their hands and said, "Now you go, and I'm going to work through you." And he's always called us to be his hands and his feet. He didn't provide any other kind of way. Something, that we say, something that we do, in some way we'll serve. God will always work through us if we'll let him. And that's the way he's designed it. He's designed the church to be outward focused and not inward focused. And I think he's wired that in every one of us to if we'll be in tune with that as followers of Jesus, that it's not just about us. It's not just what we're going to get out of it. We find our greatest growth, and we find our greatest fulfillment and greatest sense of significance in the fact when we serve others, bless others, give to others, share with others, have a heart for others. We're unhealthy people if we're only focusing on ourselves. And Jesus established the church that way, and I think he's established and wired us that way. So wherever we are, we should, and it's not all going to look the same. Not everybody's going to travel and do missionary work in another country, but whether it be in our workplaces, whether it be in our neighborhoods, whether it be the people that we interact with our friends or whatever, we should all have a sense that God is doing something and wants to do something in the other people around us, and asking him, how can we be a part of that? What piece of that do you want us to be a part of in terms of him impacting the lives of others?
So now with that in mind, obviously you're talking about this outward focus and talking about how we can allow God to work through us, allow Christ to work through us, to benefit others and to spread God's love. But as we were talking earlier before we started recording, you mentioned, I guess, an inward benefit. Talk about that for a minute.
Well, I really believe that is that God is able to work through anybody, but God is, some of the greatest benefit I've ever had from ministry, especially in mission trips and that kind of things, has been the work that God has done in me. It's often a greater benefit than what God does through me. I really believe there's something about the act of going, act of serving, the act of a posture of learning. You go with a posture of learning and seeing other people and their cultures and their geography, their environment, their setting. It shifts something inside of you, because we only know what we know. We only know what we have experienced and our environment. When we when we have a chance to go into another culture, maybe we tend to reevaluate what we've taken for granted about our own faith, maybe when we see it expressed in some other culture, some other way, or just even about our own country and about the blessings that we have here in so many ways. When we start seeing others and going with an idea of seeing others through God's eyes rather than just through even American eyes, we look through God's eyes and how he must see it. And I just find it always increases my capacity for compassion when I see other people, particularly other people in need, when I see other people that have much, much greater need than what I have. There's something about that changes me, and God does work in me through that. I experience life change, basically. I mean, I always come away with greater gratitude, a lot more gratitude, a greater appreciation for the resources and things I do have, for the country I live in, the place I was born. I did nothing. I was just born here. I was born into this environment. I was born into my family. I'm not an orphan. I have family. I have roots. I have those things. And I've seen just a deeper appreciation for all that. And I just think a viewpoint, I experience always life change in terms of a viewpoint. I hear how other people in other countries view our country, for example, and how they assume certain things maybe, or our view of Christianity. It changes you. It changes you when you go into that posture of learning and growing and serving. Something happens inside.
Well, that's a really interesting way to look at it in the efforts you put forward towards serving someone else. That God, like you said, God can use anyone. He can even use the people we're serving to affect us. Yes. So now, guys, you may be sitting here thinking, okay, this, not our normal drive time conversation. We're talking about benefiting other people. We're talking about serving other people versus our normal conversations that are really talking about how we grow, how we improve, how we start to, grow just 1% every week. Well, the reason why we're discussing it is, and this is a sneak peek for those of you who are involved in Drive Time, but in the spring of 2022, CapeMEN and Cape Christian will be hosting its first ever men's mission trip through CapeMEN. And Pastor Dennis has been a part of getting that set up and the discussions. And while we're still in the initial phases of these discussions, really that's what this week's Drive Time is about. It's about opening our eyes collectively as a community of men to think outwardly and understand that there's a world beyond not just our church, but our city and even our nation that needs the gifts that God put into each one of us. And that's our challenge for this week, guys, is not to even make a decision, but to open up our eyes, open up our hearts, and start praying about it. Each of us have a role that we can fill in terms of mission. Maybe you don't have a family dynamic or the ability to leave to go somewhere else, but maybe you can help someone else get there. Maybe you don't have the financial ability to support mission work, but you have the ability, you have the margin to pray dedicated prayers daily for a missionary or a team that is on mission right now. Each of us have a role to fill. And that's what I would ask you to do this week. That action step for this week would be to pray for God to start to reveal to each one of us what our role in mission work is going to be. Mm-hmm. Pastor Dennis, I can't thank you enough for coming in and just having the conversation and providing us with a backdrop for this week's prayer. If you have anything to add, I'd love for you to jump in and send us off with a thought process or maybe a very specific memory from your past mission endeavors to really cement this thought process for the guys.
Yeah, well, one of the other things I was thinking of is some of my greatest memories of ministry and mission trips is the relationships I built with other persons that were on those trips, other men. I mean, something about traveling together and sharing common experiences together day after day, if it's like for a week long, it creates new bonds and friendships that are unlike going to church once a week or even to a Bible study once a week with other guys. I've developed international friendships that I stay in touch with today. People who you think you're ministering to them, but they minister to you in some way, and they touch your life. And so, I'm really excited that we're working on this, getting the actual dates together and everything. It looks like we've got multiple options, but it looks like maybe this first one will be to the Dominican Republic. If we can announce that at least. We have other options in Bolivia and Cuba and so forth, but it looks like it's going there, and you'll hear more about it soon. But just be praying. Just be praying to have a mission heart, which is a heart of compassion, a heart of looking toward others, and that piece. And then just, God, what would you say to me about participating in some way or another, going directly or helping send someone else, or just being involved in the prayer support of others going. There's lots of ways to be involved, but I'm excited that we have a bunch of men who really do care about others and aren't just, centered around themselves only. I think that's the beginning of any kind of a mission conversation, and that's the heart that Jesus had. And if we can help leverage that heart that's already there into something that's going to be an opportunity for people to put hands and feet to that in another culture, another environment, another setting. I think it'll just revolutionize some of the things that some of the growth that's going on in our guys. So I'm happy for your leadership in that, Dave, and blessings on CapeMEN.
Well, thank you, Dennis. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your heart with us. Gentlemen, that's the challenge this week. Open your heart, open your mind, and just continue that prayerful attitude towards mission work. Gentlemen, we'll see you again next week here on Drive Time.